In this episode of The Great Game, dear viewer, I'm going to talk to you about the life and times of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Now, of course, you know that he passed a few days ago. He has been cremated with full state honours, with military honours at Rajghat. There is an unseemly controversy over where a memorial will be placed in his memory, in his honour, whether it will be along the stretch of the Yamuna next to Rajghat or Shakti Sthal and the other ghats that have been sort of placed there or built there in memory of our former prime ministers. And what has happened is that the Congress party has gone out on a limb. Both Rahul Gandhi and Mallikarjun Kharge have said that the BJP is dishonouring a Sikh, a former prime minister. But the BJP has, interestingly, fielded another Sikh face, Hardeep Puri, a former diplomat, now a minister, to say that there is no such thing, that promises were made and they will be kept. But anyway, what is interesting is that over the next few days, there will be, in the coming days, an Akhand Path in his memory. And interestingly, Rahul Gandhi, the Congress leader, is in Vietnam on his New Year holiday. Now, you would expect that somebody like him, who has sort of inherited the mantle of the Congress leadership, of course, he's not the president of the party formally, but he is the most powerful person in the Congress. You would expect that somebody like him would cut short his holiday in Vietnam and be at home in attendance, in deference, in honour, in memory of the former Prime Minister. Perhaps he will still make it. We hope that he is watching, that Rahul Gandhi, you are watching this episode of The Great Game right here on the Tribune's YouTube channel, and that you will return home and be part of all the ceremonies that are being carried out in memory of the good Dr. Saab. Let me also request you, dear viewer, to subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Tribune. Let me take this opportunity to thank you for watching us on YouTube, on all our shows, for reading the newspaper, India's oldest newspaper, and do follow us on all our social media handles and subscribe to this YouTube channel of the Tribune. Now, back to this episode of The Great Game, in which I talk about the life and times of Dr. Manmohan Singh, and do read my column in the Tribune on this subject, where I talk about how people like me who sort of covered his prime ministership over 10 years, from 2004 to 2014, when the Congress party and he lost power and gave way to the BJP. These 10 years of his prime ministership was really, in a sense, the coming of age of my generation of journalists. I covered very closely the foreign policy of the Congress party at the time. But actually, it was not just the Congress party's foreign policy. It was really Dr. Manmohan Singh who led from the front. And we remember how, for example, the nuclear deal was signed in 2008 between India and the US at the time, led by President George Bush. We remember, of course, other things about Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and the US. It was a nuclear deal that allowed India to reach out to a power that India had not been so comfortable with in the preceding decades, to reach out to say that we are opening our doors, that this civil nuclear deal was restricted to IAEA safeguards for its civilian nuclear reactors, that India's military reactors would still be separated and be allowed to do the work that they do. But actually, the message of the nuclear deal, as Dr. Manmohan Singh so openly put, and it was a radical and forthright idea, was that India was not just was cutting a deal or was signing a deal with the Americans, but it was opening its arms to inviting the world to come to India, to partner with India, both in terms of FDI, foreign direct investment, and in every other way. Of India becoming a partner to the world as well, of India achieving its rightful place on the global stage, of sitting at the high table. This was the message of the nuclear deal, which Dr. Manmohan Singh so beautifully and so confidently asserted, but also very softly. And we also saw, as journalists sitting in the press galleries of the time, when the BJP did not allow Prime Minister Manmohan Singh to speak on that morning in the Lok Sabha when he tried to defend the nuclear deal. There was a vote of confidence against the government. The Prime Minister at the time, Dr. Manmohan Singh, was not allowed to speak because there was this very unsavory spectacle of cash being found in the Lok Sabha and ostensibly, allegedly, cash being used to steer the vote one way against Dr. Manmohan Singh's government. Of course, that vote failed. We also remember, dear viewer, how Rahul Gandhi at the Press Club of India in 2013, now I'm fast forwarding, the vote of no confidence was held in 2008, which Dr. Manmohan Singh and the Congress party, his government, won against the BJP. And then he went on to sign the nuclear deal. And now I'm fast forwarding to 2013, when Rahul Gandhi tore up the ordinance virtually, or made the sign of tearing up the ordinance that Dr. Manmohan Singh was at the time piloting in the Lok Sabha to protect convicted politicians. Now, you may argue that what Rahul Gandhi was doing was right, because you cannot possibly, or it's not a good thing, it's morally outrageous for convicted politicians to serve as elected representatives, both MLAs and members of parliament. But remember, this was his own prime minister. So what was the message that was being sent to the country? That the Congress party was not coming out in defense of its own prime minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, whom Sonia Gandhi in 2004 had appointed over the heads of several other upstanding Congress politicians, whether it was Arjun Singh at that time or Pranab Mukherjee, for example. It was famously known, or shall I say infamously known, that Sonia Gandhi did not have very good relations with both these gentlemen in 2004. So she picked a relatively unknown man, certainly not a politician, a former RBI governor, Dr. Manmohan Singh. He had been the architect of the economic reform in 1991, also finance minister at the time to then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao. Very often, Dr. Manmohan Singh gets the credit for that economic reform, but we know that if it hadn't been for the political heavy lifting that Narasimha Rao had done in 1991, Dr. Manmohan Singh would never have been able to do the kind of work that he did, the free hand with which he opened the economy, liberalized the economy, allowed India to rejoin the world, in a sense, by removing the license Raj that had stifled India for several decades in the name of socialism, in the name of equality, at least economic equality of the people. We know that that had been a failed idea by 1991. So again, I'm fast forwarding, dear viewer, and some of this is not in my column in The Great Game, but that's why I thought I would bring it to your notice here, is that Dr. Manmohan Singh can be called a master strategist. And in the Tribune's news pages, and you've been reading the Tribune over the last few days, you've seen that we have called him that, a master strategist. This is on the day that he was cremated with full state honours in Delhi at Nigam Bodh Ghat. And the reason we have called him that is that very often, it's his quiet, soft qualities that come to the fore, where people say that, he was very soft-spoken. He wasn't assertive like Indian politicians are. He didn't shout. He didn't throw things at each other. And we've seen in the Lok Sabha and often in several assemblies in India how Indian politicians don't behave, very well. But Dr. Manmohan Singh, a very decent, upright man, full of integrity, was not any of those things. And here again, I'm fast forwarding in 2013, when Rahul Gandhi tears up that ordinance, or virtually tears up the ordinance, the BJP is crying blue murder, accusing Dr. Manmohan Singh of being a puppet of the Congress party. And actually today, if you look at this unsavory controversy of Dr. Manmohan Singh's memorial, you wonder whether the Congress party is really only comes out in defense of its first family, which is the Gandhi family. Why is it that they did not or have not put their entire weight behind pushing for a memorial for Dr. Manmohan Singh? You can argue that that Rahul Gandhi, even if Rahul Gandhi was not on holiday in Vietnam, you can argue that Rahul Gandhi has done his bit, and that's when he pushed off to Vietnam. And besides the fact, which I feel very strongly, that he should not have gone because manners do matter in politics, it's the gesture, it's the courtesy, the grace with which you conduct yourself. I think that makes a big, big difference in the manner in which you conduct yourself as a politician. And in this time, in this moment, when Dr. Manmohan Singh, the man who gave the Congress party so much, certainly Rahul should have been here to put his weight behind not just the memorial, but also to be with the family and to show that he is there at all times by their side. To also talk about Dr. Manmohan Singh's legacy, dear viewer, we know that he was never elected to the Lok Sabha. In fact, he never won an election in his life. And despite that, he was able to leverage his knowledge, his confidence, and this fact that he could reach out to even his enemy. And I'm talking about, and let me give you the example of Pakistan, for example. He becomes Prime Minister in 2004. Things are going swimmingly well with Pakistan. Friendship is blooming between the two countries. People are going back and forth. As a journalist, I went to Pakistan several times. Friends of mine, journalists from Pakistan. Lots of people from Pakistan came to India. There were singers singing in Pakistani singers performing in Bollywood movies. Real estate prices in Amritsar and Lahore, barely 25 to 30 kilometers between the two cities, as we all know, now separated by the border, which, the Great Wall that dropped in 1947. That wall was being breached when Dr. Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister in 2004. Things were opening up. The frontier was becoming soft. Pervez Musharraf was then President of Pakistan. And there was a lot of talk about the Musharraf-Manmohan Singh 4-point peace formula. Now, I have written about this many times in the past, including on the pages of the Tribune. And the primary attribute of this formula was a confidence-building measures in Jammu and Kashmir. And this is not just Indian-administered Jammu and Kashmir, but the entire undivided Jammu and Kashmir, which a part of it which is also in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And there was talk at the time in 2007, 2008, a back channel between Satinder Lamba and Tariq Aziz, Satinder Lamba of India and Tariq Aziz of Pakistan. Unfortunately, in the last year or so, both gentlemen have passed away, so that slice of history has also been obliterated. Now Manmohan Singh is also gone. But the idea of the man to talk to the Pakistanis, to resolve the leftovers of history, to resolve the burden of history, to move on. It's been more than 75 years since partition. Lots of things happen in 75 years. People grow old, they become middle-aged, they grow up. They understand that the hurt, the wounds, the traumas of the past must be resolved and must achieve closure. Dr. Manmohan Singh understood that the question of Kashmir had to be resolved. Subsequently, of course, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has resolved that question with a heavy hand. Of course, we saw that the abrogation of Article 370 took place in 2019. Subsequently to that, there is, of course, no peace with Pakistan because the Modi government has taken a different approach to how to deal with Pakistan. Dr. Manmohan Singh's approach was very different. It was much more consensual. So although Pervez Musharraf had been the architect of the Kargil War in 1999, and remember that after the Kargil War, then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee had also reached out to Pervez Musharraf, invited him to Agra for the Agra talks. And then what Manmohan Singh does is that he takes a leaf out of Atal Bihari Vajpayee's book and talks to Pervez Musharraf, gets a back channel going on Kashmir, which may have resulted in a huge contribution to peace in South Asia, to peace between India and Pakistan. and consequently in the neighborhood. There was talk that Prime Minister Manmohan Singh would travel to Pakistan to go to his village, Gah, which is in Chakwal district, about 50 or 60 kilometers from Islamabad. That never happened. But journalists did travel to Gah. Terry and R.K. Pachauri, a very well-known environmentalist, Terry, we know, also got a Nobel Prize. These people from Terry were sent to Gah. Street lights were installed. Lots of things happened. The school in which Dr. Manmohan Singh studied as a child up to age 9 or 10, that was refurbished. The government of Pakistan was fully on board. But unfortunately, Dr. Manmohan Singh did not make that trip to Pakistan. And that is one of the what-ifs of history. What if Dr. Manmohan Singh had gone to Pakistan? What if there had been an agreement between India and Pakistan, not just on Kashmir, but also on opening up, on moving on letting both countries remain as they are, neighbors, independent, sovereign, but also allowing people to move back and forth. Imagine if that had happened. Now, I will end my episode on the Great Game on this note, dear viewer. There's lots more that I've written about Dr. Manmohan Singh in my column, The Great Game. So do read it. I hope you will read it, and I hope you will respond not just to that column in the pages of the Tribune, but also this video. I will leave you there, but don't forget to click on the button, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and follow us on all the social media handles that we have, that the Tribune has, me and my colleagues in the Tribune that we have started. And I do hope that you will subscribe and you will tell us what you think about this show, about this video, and about all the other properties that are there for you. Thank you so much for watching.